Welcome to April's Garage. Self-driving cars have been around for a little bit.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Stop. But one day, I feel like they're going to take over. Like by the time we can't drive, we're not supposed to be driving, we'll be 80, but there should be self-driving cars by then. But when can we trust them?
That always bothered me with the Terminator movie, like Terminator 3, the early mid-2000s.
Yeah.
How they're able to hack in and like get a Crown Victoria to drive itself by hacking into it with the Terminator.
Amazing.
No, it's a manual steering column. Like there's nothing electronic about any of that. The braking, the steering, even the throttle probably didn't have traction control on those. So,
but the rest of the movie is totally real and makes sense, except for that part.
Well, it's how Judgment Day happened or whatever. But yeah, we've come a long way since then in the last 20 years, and I've had a lot of experience now with self-driving cars between the Tesla Model S Plaid and the Lyriq.
Right, which I was surprised I was in the passenger seat, as I'm the passenger princess all the time. Well, because you're very bossy when I'm driving. Like, it's a lot. So I prefer to be the passenger princess.
You drive in every single one of the April's Garage videos. You cruise.
I do, and that's when you're behaved there. Normally.
The camera's on, yes. Okay.
But the Plaid, when you first put it into self-driving mode, and we were merging onto the highway.
Yes.
I was slightly terrified that it was going to not be able to figure it out. And it did. It excelled fantastically. It wasn't really hesitant at all, which I feel like a lot of people, when you merge, they can be hesitant, which is what causes traffic and backups. And so maybe self-driving cars will be the end of traffic one day. I don't know. I was impressed with it.
When I first experienced it, it was in a Tesla Model 3 when it first came out. I think I drove one, I don't know, 6 years ago when they came out. And it was more like, a lane keeping and good for traffic.
Right.
But not as far as like driving, merging onto the highway and everything. And the only thing it kept track of for you to pay attention is a hand on the steering wheel. And wanted a little bit of pressure on the steering wheel so people realized you could put like a bottle of water or something with weight on there.
Right.
And then it really would drive itself, and people were like getting in the back seat and being driven in their cars in traffic, and
getting in the back seat.
There was the guy that literally based his whole channel on Pornhub of him just bringing in porn stars to do it while he's in traffic.
I didn't hear about that. I don't know what you're talking about. None of your guys have ever talked about that.
Well, Elon even talked about it. He's like, I knew this would come. So they've obviously updated Teslas now to where it's looking at your eyes to make sure that you are there. And it can tell if you're distracted. You're looking down at your phone. Sure. It warns you. And I've been warned, and it's definitely annoying.
Right.
And it's the same with the Cadillac Lyriq. Has the same infrared thing to check your eyes to make sure you're paying attention. And if you're looking down away anywhere for too long, it'll shut it off or at least warn you. So
Tesla, you're saying, does have that.
Now they do.
Now they do. Okay.
Now they do.
Because there was a recent crash in Reno where the guy was saying he wasn't paying attention like he should have been on the self-driving mode, and it caused a crash. I'll tell you what happened. It failed to merge out of a lane that was ending, hit a curb, and crashed into a pole in Nevada's Reno City while on full self-driving feature, which requires human control behind the wheel. Now, the guy that crashed said, "Don't make the same mistake I did. Pay attention. It's easy to get complacent now." Well, there was on the earlier ones where the guy got decapitated because he was watching a movie on his tablet, and then they didn't notice the truck that was crossing. It didn't detect it. It tried to go underneath it, and it lopped his head off. That's the big urban legend one. But yeah, the new ones, you're supposed to pay attention. I don't see how, unless you're looking away, you have maybe 5 or 10 seconds before the thing starts getting mad at you. But usually when it's merging, you really want to pay attention. And there's been several times with my Plaid that it turns itself off. It gets scared. It can't figure out what's going on. There's a shadow or something, and it just says, so when
come back, take control again.
When it turns itself off, does it decelerate, or does it just keep on going?
It is like full alarm, blah, 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 like every buzzer alarm, steering stick shake, like in an airplane, like a private aircraft stall shaker. Everything to get your attention to take the wheel, and then I assume it would come to a stop if you didn't do anything. So that'd be really hard to do.
Yeah, well,
he's really hard.
Warning against that. There was also, I guess, in the police report that there were unknown mechanical issues. So I don't know how that would be involved in self-driving.
I don't think so
at all. That doesn't quite make sense.
Well, the key difference between Teslas and say GMs, like the Cadillac, is Tesla's will go anywhere. So it'll see the road with its cameras. It got rid of its sonar system.
Right.
And it's just based on cameras.
So that's
and
what I'm saying. It's just completely based on cameras.
On cameras. Right? And it will see the road ahead of it and pull in, say, to our house, into the road, in the driveway, avoid obstacles, and go through and literally park itself in front of the house.
Right.
With Cadillac, it has to be a road that's been thoroughly mapped out by Cadillac, by GM already for it to work. So normal surface streets, no. All the major highways that are mapped out, and they're growing more and more every week as they map it all out, get detailed specs of it. It knows. There's still sensors too, but when there's something that doesn't jive with the sensor and the map in the software, it kicks it back to you.
The thing that makes me nervous about cameras is visibility. If there's fog, if there's snow, just general night vision as well, then it just is disabled, you're saying, at that point. Or let's say a semi goes by you, the sun's setting, and it creates a huge shadow, and your car just has a meltdown because it doesn't know what to do about this huge shadow coming across.
It just shuts itself off. It does phantom brake sometimes. Both cars have phantom brakes.
I phantom brake when you drive all the time.
Well, but the cars, as far as they see something that's not there and it brakes, and you're worried someone behind you just not paying attention is going to slam into the back of you because you're braking for no reason. So whose fault is it in that sense? But obviously the person following you should be paying attention. But yeah, I thought my 2021, I think it's the first year of that big advancement. It's the first year of the Plaid. So if I wanted the older one where we could do different activities while we were driving. I couldn't get the Plaid, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. So. Or poor Jake could drive. No, but so here's the thing. Elon's rolling out the robo-taxis, right?
Jake likes to watch.
Stop it. Jake's going to quit. We're not going to have anyone to film us. But so the robo-taxis. Elon's saying they're going to roll them out in Texas.
Yes.
Would you get
Austin?
in one in Austin, Texas, where the regulatory requirements for autonomous vehicles, there pretty much aren't any requirements. There's no rules there right now, so it's going to be the Wild West.
It's going to be fun. Texas drivers are freaking nuts.
Yeah.
They're insane. And the traffic in Austin is nuts. So I wonder how long it's going to last before Texans are shooting at the things when they're empty or whatever. Like, it is not going to go well. They've been doing it in Arizona for a long time with Waymo, with the Jaguars that we have seen.
Right.
And there's no way for a human to get in and interfere with those as well. With Tesla, they're completely taking out the steering wheels and like, you're on your own. With the Waymos, at least, they're modified Jaguars with steering wheels, but still you can never take control. People are trapped in them sometimes when they stop. But so that's been going on for years in Scottsdale in Arizona, but that's way less traffic, way more, sedate, older population, not many people probably to road rage and like shoot holes into the things and all that stuff. Because I'm thinking about like the scooter craze where the cities are filled up with the rental scooters and all that stuff.
The scooter craze.
The electric scooters where you can rent and then put them back in a different place. And people are just taking the electric scooters just for fun and like throwing them in a river or whatever, just because. And I feel like in Texas, that's what's going to happen. People are going to screw with them. Right. But the Waymos are pretty weird.
Well, because we were just out there for Barrett Jackson, and there was a wild car chase.
It was amazing.
With a police car ramming into a car, just completely in public. Everything's populated, cars driving by, which I didn't know you're allowed to do that when there's like civilians are around. But this cop car is ramming this runaway car off and on, just going right past us. Eventually it spins out. But the craziest part was the Waymos. Am I saying it right?
The Waymos.
Yeah. Didn't know what to do.
No, but I'd never seen, it looked like you're watching a YouTube video or the old like World's Craziest Police videos where I just heard the crunch first and a police car taking a turn, and he was colliding with the car. And we were following the action, a couple of pit maneuvers, and then it went out of sight because the Impala that he was chasing was going like 90 miles an hour. But then it comes back the other way, straight towards us with a tire down and just, scraping and sparks and everything. And eventually when it stops, the whole road was shut down.
Traffic needed to get redirected, and the Waymos didn't know what to do. They didn't understand the police signaling, and so there was sort of a gridlock of what do? We just have to drive around, and the poor people in these Waymos were stuck.
They were very stuck. So the police are directing traffic. Because it's a crazy pursuit in Scottsdale, in the fancy area, there were a lot of cops there, 20, 30 police officers. And, they're trying to wave at the Waymos to, go around. And then there's no human to see what the cops are saying and to drive around in this weird spot that's not really on the road. So they just stop. They just literally stop in the road and caused a backup of unbelievable proportions.
Right.
They're stupid. It's
They're stupid, but they're supposed to be safer, and eventually, perhaps, they will be. But I gotta show you something that you never knew you needed.
Okay.
And it is a heel airbag. Yes, this is happening. It's an actual heel airbag that cups your foot. Now, what it's all about is these autonomous driving vehicles. People are going to be sitting in the backs of them, and they pretty much want to surround you with like a pillow of an airbag so you don't hurt yourself. But there's actual heel airbags to stabilize your leg and on the sides so your legs don't get damaged in these crashes. People are going to be reclining in the back seats of these robo-taxis, just laying down, which is very dangerous.
Well, I assume they would do it for the front seats too, right?
Well, people I don't think are really going to be sitting in the front seats, are there?
Because
there's no steering wheel.
It would be nice to have it in the front seats, but there's a pro and con, because if the airbag goes off, then you don't have the ability to still control the car and hit the brakes or whatever. If you had that,
there aren't going to be any brakes in these new self-driving cars.
But they're like the injuries that happen with legs when the cars crunch up. And there was one.
I had my knee surgery, so this is like triggering me quite a bit.
I did have an employee that I was training for a Freddy's opening. This was in California when I was just helping out with. And they came from California to Kansas, where Freddy's Frozen Custard is founded, to train in the stores.
Right.
And the last day of training, they get in a head-on collision. She has a rental Ford Mustang, and it crushes her foot to where they almost had to amputate it. But it was like multiple surgeries.
I can't handle this right
now. A
now.
year plus of recovery.
Yes.
And she obviously couldn't work for us. So
right.
all the disability stuff she qualified for, understandably, and everything, she couldn't, all that money spent on training, and then the insurance had to cover the disability, the accident,
right.
everything else. And it was just a guy that was drunk and fell asleep.
Right.
And head on. And it was such a major injury. She did come in a few times when we opened the store to say hello and everything, but she's probably going to walk with a limp for the rest of her life.
And these self-driving cars we're not going to have to deal with drunk drivers anymore. So there are some positives in the future, but of course, with anything, with any new technology, airplanes is a big one. When things first start, there's a lot of accidents that happen, and then we learn and put fail-safes in after the accidents happen. So we're in that kind of trial and error period in our life right now.
There's going to be a few accidents where companies get sued to the point where they're like, we can't do this technology anymore.
And that's why this robo-taxi rollout in Texas has to run smooth and perfect, or it's going to be a long road. It probably won't come to fruition if there's problems with robo-taxi.
Like I said, it's been a long road getting from there to here. It's been a long time.
That's the
My
worst.
time is finally near.
No.
The Star Trek Enterprise, they had that horrible
It was the worst song, and I hate it, and now
song.
it's stuck in my head.
So
You're a terrible person. Thanks so much for watching. I'm going to punish you.
She loves all the other Star Treks, but she had trouble getting on board with Enterprise because of the song, which so many people back in the day.
It's really bad.
It was tough.
It's really bad. Just stop talking
Sorry.
about it.